This episode of On the Line is presented to you by Living.fit, your one stop for all your fitness needs. Make sure you go download the app Living.fit today. Now here's the show. Welcome to On the Line. Today is Friday, July 1st. We're officially at the halfway point of the year, but we got a great show for you guys. We got Juan Adams on the program talking about everything from his PFL debut to his UFC career, his whole career, everything he's changed. Maybe not Mr. Little Debbie anymore. We got Liam Heslin on the show, aka LiamPicksFights. Talk about UFC 276, get to know him a little bit better. But we got that. And we also got UFC 276 in 2 minutes. Got the 2-minute drill for that. And we wrap up with our medals for the week. But first and foremost, watch on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, listen on Apple, Spotify, Deezer, Stitcher, or any other podcasting platform. Hit that follow, leave a review if you're one of the cool kids. But without further ado, let's go on into Juan the Kraken Adams. We are joined by a very special guest. He is a former star of the Pooh Chronicles and is undefeated in the PFL. We are joined by Juan Adams. Juan, my man, what's up? How we doing?
Good, man. Good. Just recovering from that fight. My first day back in the gym, somebody got me in the nose, and I was like, "Mother, you gotta stop, man! Shit, that hurt."
Of course, the first day you get back, you always get popped in the nose. Always get or you get like a black eye or something, like just as you recover, no longer have like the stank eye. You get the effects again. Yeah. Do you have the stank eye today, or is it gone? Are we good?
It's still there. You can kind of see it. It's black, and then
Not too bad. It was a lot worse
yesterday. It's a lot better than it was.
It's a lot better than what it was. So one thing real quick is like I just read your post. I didn't realize you had your car stolen a couple months back, but you've had some of the shittiest car luck over the past like couple months.
Yeah. It was actually, I'm a teacher. It was the last day of school. Came in and stole my car. I walked out. I'm like, yo, where is it? And then the next day I had to clean out my classroom. So it was not a fun day for me. That was May 26th, I think. May 25th or May 26th that happened. So just a rough few weeks leading up to the fight. But we pulled through. We got it done.
That's all that matters at the end of the day. Did you find the car? Is that the car that you had to take to the shop yesterday? Or did you have to get in the one? Okay, so at least you found it. Did you at least get the laptop back?
No. We found the car. It was undrivable. I got a new car for like $2,000. Took it in the shop yesterday just for like routine oil change. Found out the rear differential was leaking, so I put a new gasket on that, and I replaced the back brakes. The good news is like on this car, it was like a $500 fix. On the car I had before, that would have been about a $2,000 fix just to get to all that stuff. So it's good. A little cheaper labor costs on this one.
We'll take that. We'll take that every time. So as we said, like you have to win in the PFL. Are you now like fully contracted? I know it was a one fight, like you were the replacement, but now are you full-fledged PFL?
I'm not 100% sure. So I'm number 6 in their rankings. So I'm their second alternate for the tournament, meaning if somebody falls through, they fly me out there just to make weight for the tournament. And then if 2 people fall through, I'm in the tournament. I would assume that I would be brought back next season just because I'm, top 6 and, I was pretty close to making the tournament off of one fight. So I would think I would be back with them, but I'm not 100% sure. Everyone that works there said it was an exciting fight and they like to see it. I took it on short notice and still, did what I had to do. So we'll see.
You're not. So you don't have anything currently. They haven't told you like, hey, we're gonna have, even though you're not still in the tournament, we want to have you do like a fight at one of our events. So you haven't heard anything like that. You're just technically still a replacement in case someone can't make it.
Right.
Okay. So what would you? So like theoretically, then, if no one backs out, like what do you do then until like next March or whatever when they start the next season? Are you kind of just stuck, or are you allowed to go fight for another organization?
I'm not sure, and I don't even think that I would fight for another organization right now. Obviously, if Fury offered me a title fight, I'd probably go back and try and get that title back. But the way I see it, I'm 10-4 right now. I fought now. That was my 6th fight in 1 year, so I think I'll be all right. I'm a teacher, so I've got my finances all set up to where I shouldn't need money again until the next tournament, so I should be fine. And obviously, I loved fighting for that organization. It was really well run. The production value was amazing. I went back and watched the card, and it's a great organization to be a part of. I'd said before, yeah, I would like to go back to the UFC just to even out my record, but ultimately, I'm fighting where the money's good and I'm treated well right now. And what I can say about Fury treated me amazing. The only issue, like, nobody wanted to fight me. Up and coming prospects don't want to fight me, and guys knocking on the door trying to get back to the UFC don't want to fight me. So the only guys that want to fight me are kind of like washed up journeymen right now with upside down records, and those aren't even fights I want to take. Like,
it's not worth it. It's just not worth it at that point, because you're trying to get. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you're trying to get back too, but you also want to test yourself too. At the end of the day, you're a competitor. But, like, what's the
Right.
fucking point of fighting a guy with like a 6-12 record? Like, that does nothing for you, and it won't be for a title or anything. Those guys aren't fighting for titles, so, like, why? Why would you even risk it? What's the point? There is no point.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't want to fight guys I don't even want to fight guys that are like 500. I want to fight good guys right now. I'm 10-4. My last opponent, like, we went in, I was 9-4, he was 8-5. That's a pretty close record. Those are the type of fights I want, or someone that's got a big name. We're beating them, propels me in some way. I don't gain anything from, knocking out a journeyman. That doesn't do anything for me.
No, it doesn't really tip the scales that much. So, like, that was the other thing I'd say about PFL. Like, I never say anything. Whenever I have Bellator guys, I never really say a whole lot about Bellator. UFC, obviously, they run the best ship. That's why they're the UFC. But I think PFL is the second best organization in terms of how they do it, the way they treat you guys, everything about it. I think it's the pacing can do a little work. But in terms of the fights themselves and everything, I think it's awesome. I think it is the second best organization currently out there.
Right. Yeah, and I love working for them. Bellator is, I've heard good things. One of my really good friends is Davion Franklin. He's the top 10 heavyweight for them. Christian Edwards fights for them. Everyone I know that fights for Bellator is kind of the same thing. Like, they wish they could fight more frequently.
Yeah.
So that's it. But other than that, man, I don't have any complaints. I'm a happy guy.
No, and I know the one thing with PFL too is, like, you're, like, let's say theoretically next year, like, you'll probably be in the tournament, you'll be back in the whole thing. You're guaranteed at least like 2 or 3 fights. Like, you're guaranteed to get in that cage a certain amount of times in a certain period of time, which is nice. It's real nice. It's like perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another thing too is, just real quick question: are you still freaked out by blood when you get your opponent's blood? Do you still like, oh, that's a little freaks me out a little bit, or are you kind of over that now?
It's still gross. Like, bodily fluid in general is kind of nasty to me. I don't like it getting on me. I really don't like my own blood. When I started bleeding in this fight, I was like, what the fuck? And then on top of that, like, on top of all of that, like, I ate something before that I probably shouldn't have. And, like, after my second big lift where I got the slam, like, I was trying not to crap myself. Like, so I had to slow down a lot. And then when he hit me with the body shot, it was like another one. Like, so I was really fighting, like, not crapping myself. A lot of people thought I was tired or whatever, but it was, no, I was.
You just trying not to shit yourself. You're just trying not to shit.
Like, that was it. And then at the end, where I had the hammer fist, it's like, when you feel somebody give up, like, I knew I just had to hit him a certain number of times. I didn't need to hurt him. Like, it was over. So it's just like, all right, rough, when you get stuff in.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. Like, obviously, it was like 30 seconds where you just, like, it wasn't really that hard. Like, you knew the fight was over. I think everyone knew the fight was over. Where I was kind of waiting, like, just break it up. Like, it's over. It's done. Do you think if, like, obviously, like, what you did was fine. Like, fans who bitch about it, they can bitch about whatever they want. Who cares? But, like, is there part of you, like, if you threw harder, that the fight would have been ended sooner? Or do you think no matter what, it would have had to been, like, the same amount of strikes based on, like, how that fight was going?
I think it would have had to be the same amount of strikes based on how the fight was going. Typically when the ref says something or asks the opponent to do something, that's when they're like, okay, you throw anywhere from 3 to 10 strikes, it's over.
Yeah.
right? So I was hitting hard. Then I saw like I had him trapped. It would have been one thing in like if he could have fired back, like if we were on the feet, yeah, I would have kept throwing heat. But I've got you trapped. I'm sitting on your chest. I've got both arms. You can't move. Like, there's no point in me doing extra damage right there. It's just a dick move. Now, like if I didn't like if he had been a dick during fight week, I probably would have like thrown some heat on him. But it was like we were chilling all week. It was so I was like, yeah, man, he's a cool dude. I don't need to hurt him.
No, I mean, if it was Greg Hardy, like, yeah, you would have thrown a couple extra strikes, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Are you a big basketball guy, by the way? Just real quick, just completely out of.
Yeah, I love
Okay,
basketball.
sorry if I keep looking at my phone. Kevin Durant just asked for a trade. Like, he just demanded a trade, like, just now. So,
shit.
dude, off season, off to a hot start, off to a very hot start. This shit's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Are you a Rockets fan then? Since I know you're from Houston. Or are you a player guy? Like, you cheer for a player?
I'm more of a player guy. Like, I do love the Rockets. Don't get me wrong, but I don't watch college like I used to. I'm really a LeBron guy. I'm a LeBron guy. Love that dude.
Don't blame you.
I like the Ball brothers. I love them. And then who else?
Dude, the best commercial right now is the Lonzo Ball like progressive commercial where he's like, I want that employee month, and LeVar's like, there ain't nothing my son can't do. That's a fact.
I love that one. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a player guy. I don't follow teams too much. I got my favorite like 5 or 6 players. I want them to do well, and that's about it.
That's fair. I mean, that's kind of the NBA's run. It's a little bit different. It's a lot different. Anyway, back to what we were talking about earlier, though. So one thing, real quick. So like, obviously, as you said, like you didn't want to put more damage on the guy. It was not necessary. You ever seen that meme on the internet where it's like the guy without a shirt? They say put on a shirt, and then the other one with the woman. It's like that's empowering. It's kind of like when they're pissed at you because you weren't throwing strikes, but like if Jorge Masvidal was throwing strikes on the flat line Askren, like that's empowering. But you doing it's like, what the fuck, dude? Throw on heavier strikes. What the fuck? You know, kind of like that meme. Yeah. I feel like it's kind of like that meme.
Yeah, definitely. So I really don't pay attention to a lot of what fans say because at the end of the day, like, yeah, we need them in order for there to be a desire to watch us. Like, there has to be a demand. But at the end of the day, like, the average male is, like they said, it's like 4,000% less effective in combat than he thinks he is. And like, if a lot of people like have just never fought before, never done anything, and like people that want to criticize me, like they don't realize like it's not just fighting that I've been successful in. Like literally in everything I've done in my entire life, I've been in the top 1 to top 5% of people to do it. Like, and high school, I went to a college prep high school. I graduated from it. I had one of the top scores on the entrance exam. I graduated from college with a degree in computer science. I'm an Eagle Scout. I was a Division I athlete, Division I wrestler. Within that, I was a top 20 Division I wrestler. Then I hadn't played football in 5 years, still had an NFL tryout. I had a WWE tryout. Then in MMA, I started training and a little over 2 years for my amateur debut, I'm in the UFC. Like, everything I've done, I'm in the top 1% of, and I've got these people that, struggled to graduate high school or couldn't even make a varsity team until their senior year, like, trying to criticize me. Like, okay, dude, have fun with that. And I get it. Fighting is one of those things where everyone feels like they can do it because it's human nature to compete. But even people that have done like street fights or whatever, or done some sport in high school or whatever level, that's the literal equivalent of me going up to an architect and trying to criticize their work because I've completed some Lego sets in my life. Like, that's the level of comparison it is right there.
That's a fact. I don't know how I keep getting these discussions with every single time I have a fighter on. I'm like, dude, the fans are just so obnoxious. It's like, not that they are obnoxious, but it's just like, it's just kind of, it's not getting out of hand, but I feel like it's just become a lot more prominent. People are bringing it up more. Like you had the thing with Julian Marquez a couple weeks back, like a week or so ago, when he had that one guy trying to tell him like, you suck, you fucking bum, I'm gonna fade you. And then he kept posting screenshots of the conversation. And then like people were then like DMing that guy that he's a piece of shit, scumbag. They like found his address. Like it was crazy. But yeah, the fans are
Yeah.
it's the people who also won't put up their own profile picture. They have like a fake person or like the Twitter egg or whatever. Kind of too scared to put their actual face to
Oh,
what they say.
that's my favorite. Like those are the type of profiles that always call me ugly, and I'm like, bro, you better hope I don't ever find out who your crush is, because like I will smash her and send you a video of it. Like just to, I mean, I got a girlfriend now, so I won't do that. But like back in the day, like if you had done that, I would have. People pissed me off with that shit, and it's like you want to comment on my appearance, but you're too ugly, or you're that insecure about yourself to where you can't even put a real profile picture up, so it's, get out of my face with that shit.
For real, though, for real. So, like, so let's talk about the career a little bit. So, obviously, like, you're only 30 years old, too, which, by the way, like, in the heavyweight years, that's like being 26, 25 in any other division. You still have a lot of years left, especially in the prime.
Right.
And, like, you saw, as you said earlier, like, you went to the UFC pretty early. Unfortunately, got cut, and you kind of getting back. You're back now to a premier organization in PFL. Like, do you think a part of it maybe was, like, maybe you did get into the UFC a little too early? Or do you think about it, like, you know what, that was an experience I'm glad I have, so when I get back, I won't make the same mistakes all over again?
It's a combination of the two. I wasn't as mature of a person as I should have been at that time. When I was in the UFC, even spiritually, I was doing a lot of things strictly out of ego. And I was at a point in my life where I felt like I really had to be in control of everything. I just wasn't aware of as aware of things as I am now. Even, I mean, down to even like my personal life choices, the way I handled conflict at the time, the women I was dating, like all that stuff played a big factor into it. And even the lifestyle that I live, man. I was at a point in my life where I'd go out on a Tuesday or Wednesday night, get wasted, knowing full well I had a 6 a.m. workout the next day. I go, get home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, do whatever I had to do, go to my workout, go do my lifts, make it through the day, probably like sleep for 2 or 3 hours again in the afternoon, and then repeat it, So I was just a little too caught up in the hype of everything at the time. I wasn't really living, the lifestyle that I live now. And also I was doing a lot of things at that time. I wasn't fighting because it was something I loved to do. It was fighting just because a lot of people thought I couldn't do it. And I was like, all right, fuck it. Well, I'm going to go do it now to prove you wrong. And that's what I did. So, so again, like my motivations were very different at that time in my life. And when I got released from the UFC and I had to, because of COVID, really take time off and not accept fights, it made me realize that I do love doing this, and it made me find a purpose more so into why I fight. Like initially I fought because it's a good way to make money and I might be able to change my life and the life of those I care about. But then it became more than that to me. I found a spiritual reason, why I do it. I found real balance in my life, and I got back to doing things outside of fighting. When something consumes you like that and it's all you do, and you're not really doing it for yourself at that time, it's really easy to get burnt out. And I put it like this. At that time in my life, like a lot of other areas of my life weren't complete and I wasn't happy with. But I knew that after a fight, win or lose, for at least 2 weeks, everything was going to go my way after that. So it got to a point where fight week would come around and I wouldn't even be excited about the fight. It was like, oh, damn, I got all these obligations. But I know after the fight, like, after the fight, win or lose, like the girl I'm dating, like my girlfriend, she's gonna at least, I'll get sex whenever I want that week. And then I can eat whatever I want. I can go party. Everyone's going to be about me after the fight. So it got to a point where like the fight itself wasn't the reward. And that's not the headspace you need to be in when you're doing this. If that's why you're doing it, you're never going to be fully focused on the fight. So now, because I couldn't fight for that year and a half, right? And then it got to a point where then people didn't want to fight me, and like I wasn't able to fight for whatever reason. Now when I fight, it's, oh yes, I'm finally getting to do this. And the anxiety aspect is completely different. I used to have, anxiety attacks or panic attacks every week of a fight camp. I'm talking like not able to sleep. There were times where I would drink 2 bottles of NyQuil trying to sleep, and I would just pass out for 3 hours and wake up in a cold sweat, heart still racing, like unable to sleep. So things like that don't happen anymore. And it goes, a lot of it has to do with, just being a little older in life. But, I did a lot of work, mental work on myself, got back into therapy, started doing a lot of spiritual work, reconnected with my spirituality and things like that, and really kind of carved out a life that I wanted outside of fighting. So now that when I do fight, it's a privilege, I don't look at it as I have to work out, or I have to train, I have to do all these other things. I look at it as like a blessing to be able to do it. I have the natural ability to do it. And now I get to test my own discipline and test my own commitment to my goals and to my dreams by committing to a lifestyle outside of a fight camp.
So it sounds like, yeah, so this is completely different. So it sounds like no Little Debbie's cakes after weigh-ins anymore. It sounds like a little more focused on like
Yeah.
nutrition, refueling, things like that. Maybe not doing so I know, like, yeah, so it sounds like nothing like that anymore. So it sounds like everything is like almost like from those mistakes in the UFC. It's like, obviously, so like I'll answer the question for you. It sounds like it was a good thing they went in there that early, because then you can learn, like, I can't do this shit and actually like perform well. I can't like succeed, and it's now actually, you see it in a completely different lens. And the lens, like, it's like you can't half-ass something and just do it to do it and just think you're going to be good at it. You have to go all in, or you're going to get fucked up. And in the fight game, I mean, that's probably one of the worst things to get fucked up in.
Right, exactly.
It's one of the worst things, to get fucked up again. And so I know you said you tried out for the WWE, things like that, all that kind of stuff. Like, when you're in that year and a half off, was there a part of like, maybe I should go try out for that again? Maybe I should reach out to NFL teams again, since they wanted to like at least take a look at me. Like, well, in that year and a half, was there a part of like, maybe I won't be able to fight again and I have to go through a different avenue?
No, because I did have the option to try out again for the WWE, and it's just not for me at this point in my life. I love doing that. I love watching it, and it is something that would be super cool to do, but I'm just not there right now mentally. And when I started fighting, I knew that this was kind of going to be the last thing that I really committed to athletically. It's the last thing I'm going to try to make a living off of my body doing. And that's why I'm still committed to it, and it was never a question of that for me. That's why, but it did force me to like go find something else that I was passionate about working. I worked in behavioral health, juvenile behavioral health, in that time off. And sadly, like 2 of the 3 homes I worked at shut down, but I switched over, and now I'm an educator for at-risk youth in Albuquerque. And I love doing that. I love helping people. That's kind of at the center of my being, is helping others. So being able to reconnect and do that has been amazing.
Do you still have your pet fish from the COVID quarantine?
No, he died, man.
Oh.
The first one, his name was Wuhan. And when Wuhan died, I got another one. I named him Variant, and then Variant died.
Oh.
So and then I got another one that was like not COVID related at all, and he died like he didn't even make it like 3 days. I literally got him from the pet store, put him in the tank, and like I just wake up one morning, homie dead. So I was like, I'm gonna chill on fish for a little bit. Might go with a different type of fish for a while or redo the tank. I don't know yet, but something's not right about my pet fish right now. So I'm done with it.
What was the longest tenure? What was the longest run for one of those fish? Was it a week, 2 weeks?
Definitely variant made it. Let's see, Wuhan died early 2021, I think.
Oh,
early 2021, yeah. Variant. I got variant summer of 2021. And he made it a year, and he died right before my fight. So that was it for variant.
that's crazy. I was like, we had in college, my roommates wanted to get fish. I'm like, all right, you guys got to take care of them. It only lasted like 3 days. It was pretty sad. I felt bad for those fish.
Yeah.
I felt bad for those fish. I forget why they died. I think it has something to do with like they didn't clean the tank out or something, or maybe a chemical went in there. They were feeding them, or probably feeding them too much. But yeah, that was a tough scene for those fish. I felt bad. I felt really bad.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It is what it is. And so like going back to the career and all that. So you got the PFL stuff, you got all that other kind of stuff. You're a teacher. And you teach, was it 9th grade science?
Yeah, 9th grade biology, and then this year I think they have me set for 7th grade test preparation. But the way the school works, we have a really high turnover rate with teachers, so I could end up anywhere. But I told them I prefer teaching science or test prep. I don't want to go back to math. I haven't looked at a math problem since college. I don't want to deal with it.
But in test prep, aren't you gonna have to do that? Like the test prep, I feel like is everything encompassed into one.
It is, but it's not, because like with test prep, what I teach is how to properly take a test and how to get what the question is asking for. I don't necessarily focus on the material of it. I teach them test taking strategies and better ways to read and understand what is being asked of them.
Oh, okay. That sounds a little bit better than teaching 9th grade biology.
Yeah, well, 9th grade biology was fun because I got to do stuff with these kids that they've never done before. We did a dissection in my class. That school had never done a dissection before. I got to teach them a lot about nutrition and just how the body works. We went into a lot of anatomy and physiology in my class, which are some of the things that are my favorite things to teach anyway. So
okay. By the way, do you still paint your toenails before your fights, or is that dead? Is that done?
No, I didn't. I don't do it now just because I don't ever have time to. I get super busy. But if I fight during the summer, I'll definitely do it. Actually, me and my girl are going for pedicures next week. Actually, so
I was about to ask if you still did those at least. So at least you're still doing the pedicures at least.
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're in the oils. You're about getting all oiled up before your fights.
Yeah, no, it's because for the photo shoot they made us put baby oil on, and I was like, I kind of like this. And then I saw the photos, and like everything was popping. I looked like swole. I was like, yeah,
goddamn, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. It looks a little bit better in that fight lighting when you're in there nice and dry. You get that oil on. I mean, that's why the bodybuilders wear it, dude. It makes them pop. Makes it look pretty juicy. Yeah. And so another thing too is like, I know another thing before one of your fights, another little fascinating thing was you found out before, was it TAFA, that you couldn't wear contacts?
No, that was before my UFC debut. I found out I couldn't.
Did you get LASIK after that?
I got PRK, which is like a precursor to LASIK, because some commissions won't clear you if you have LASIK. And it's part of like how the surgery is done. So with PRK, they go right on the lens of the eye and just start cutting and doing whatever. With LASIK, they cut a flap of the lens, lift up, and then they do the laser. So there's like a little pocket of air in there. And what a lot of people don't realize is like if you get hit at the right angle, it could give you an embolism. So I don't want that.
No, we don't want that. So do you ever wear glasses? So it's like your vision not all the way there then with just
I see between 2015 and 2020 now. So
there you go. Can't ask for anything else. Don't worry about glasses or anything like that. When you're in military, by the way, I know in college you went to like a military prep. Was that kind of a wake up call? Like, dude, this kind of fucking sucks. But like, no, I'm going to be a D1 athlete. I can deal with it. I can deal with the military training and all that other kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, on my recruiting trip, they lied to me too. Like my coach lied a lot to me. He was like, he goes, "We'll get you out of all the military stuff. You don't have to worry about all this." And I was like, "All right, cool. Like this shouldn't be so bad." And like I went there, and that was not the case. Like I got treated just like everyone else until like I got really good at wrestling. Then they let me slide on a little bit of stuff, but for the most part, yeah, it sucked. And then like I actually liked it. After the first year I liked it. And I was set. I chose to be on the commissioning track. And I'm very glad that like it didn't work out. I got injured like right before one of my medical clearances. So I had to have another surgery. And I got a little taste of freedom after that surgery. Like I didn't have to shave, I didn't have to wear my uniform. Like I got to kind of do whatever I wanted for a little bit. And I was just like, man, fuck this. I'm never going back. So, yeah, it was fun.
How long did it take you to start referring to everything like that? Like, 1600 or 1200 or 1400? Or how long did it take you to get out of that kind of like phase?
Instantly, as soon as I was done,
Really?
I was
I have a friend who did all that shit for like a year, and to this day, he still does it.
now like for about 2 years afterwards, I kept everything in my room like folded. I folded everything a certain way, like everything. My schedule was really tight. But now it's chill. I don't even fold my own clothes anymore. I found this laundromat that wash, folds, and dries for $1 a pound. So
Ooh,
every like every like 6 weeks or so, I just go and drop off like 60 pounds worth of laundry and get it all done, and then I don't touch it again. All I have to do is put shit away. I don't have to fold anymore.
Oh shit, exactly. I love that. I wish I should find out about that. I hate doing laundry. Growing up too, like you're a big guy, and I know growing up you're probably a lot bigger than all the other kids. Did you have to start bringing your birth certificate around because people are like, there's no way this guy's like actually 12 or 13? Because like when you played like young professional, like young sports, like you're 12-year-old going against 12-year-old, like there's no way this kid's 12 years old. This is cheating.
No, I would have to provide it at the beginning of every season, but I never competed with my age group.
Oh, okay.
Even at 3 years old, I was on a 5 and under soccer team, and then once I hit like 6, I was on a 10 and under soccer team, and then in baseball, same thing. Like I was competed up in age group.
So you never
In
had to deal
Little
with
League,
that. Okay.
yeah, for Little League football, I competed 2 age groups up actually, and then for what was it for football for baseball, I got to do like my season, but the league I was in was like anywhere from 9 to 13, I think, or
Yeah.
9 to 12. So
Yeah, that's like I know what you're talking about in Little League. It goes like AAA, then majors. That's what we used to call it. Majors is like the 9 to 13.
yeah, ours we just all competed in the same thing. And then for an all-star team, it was a 9 and 10-year-old all-star team, and then there was an 11 and 12-year-old all-star team. But then after I hit 12, I went to switch over to, I guess, AAU. I'm not sure what it is, or USSSA baseball, whatever it is.
Whatever. Yeah, I just call it travel.
Yeah, the travel team. And they wanted me to play on the 16 and under team, and I was like, my mom was just like, no, you're 12. We're not doing this. And so then I stopped. That's when I stopped playing baseball and just started doing other stuff.
Did you hit a lot of bombs when you're in when you were 12 years old? Did you just hit them bombs off those kids, or
not really? Because like I broke my wrist. So I had a cast and I couldn't turn my wrist over. So I was just a contact hitter. I had my batting average that year was 900 actually. Yeah, I had a 900 batting average.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I just hit everything. Yeah,
that's ridiculous. Were you always
like it was bad?
No.
Like I would hit stuff like that wasn't anywhere close to the strike zone. Like there were times I would like step across the plate and hit it. One was like above my head, and I literally jumped in the air and like tomahawked it. and got it. Like I swung it. I was hitting everything. So It was just different.
I can relate a little bit. Like I wasn't as big as you at that age, but I was still like pretty big. So like I was the same way. I was like I like led the league in home runs, all that kind of stuff. So I can feel that. That was one of the few sports I was decent at, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So now obviously as we said earlier, you're like Mr. Debbie for the Little Debbie snack cakes. Has the Mount Rushmore changed? Like do you have if you had to pick a Mount Rushmore of Little Debbie snack cakes, what would you give your Mount Rushmore to?
Oh, I don't think it's changed much. I still got strawberry shortcake rolls, obviously. Zebra cakes are always going to be top tier. Okay, no, they're unicorn ones. Their unicorn ones are bomb. I that one has grown on me quite a bit. And then, it's hard because a lot of people like the OG, like oatmeal cream pies, but I prefer the fudge mounds.
Yes, the fudge rounds are so good.
Yeah, the fudge rounds are really good. But they're seasonal ones too. They're little fancy cakes. I love their cookies and cream fancy cakes, but it's really hard to find them.
The seasonal ones are always good. So I always like mine is like I have honey buns on there just because I think those are always consistently good. I was a classics. My classics Mount Rushmore. It's just like honey buns, Nutty Buddies, the zebra cakes because there's like 1,000 variations of them and everything's a variation. Everything's pretty much. And then I had the cream pies / fudge rounds, but yours is a lot more probably in depth and a lot better because I don't think I've had Little Debbie's in like over 2 years maybe. I just don't got them
every now and like I think like once a month I'll go and I'll buy like a single one from a gas station or something just to remember. But I don't know, man. I'm 30 now. My body just doesn't process sugar the way it used to. I can't be doing that anymore.
It's like when you I'm assuming at some point too when you're going through a little phase of partying until like 2 or 3 in the morning and training the next day at 6. I'm assuming there's a couple times you're like, dude, I can't fucking do this every day because you just felt like shit. You had like the 2-day. When'd you first get your first 2-day hangover?
My first 2-day hangover was right before my 30th birthday.
Oh, so it was recent.
Yeah, it was recent. Well, for the longest, I just like wouldn't get hangovers because I would just stay drunk. That was one thing, but then the other thing too is like if I had a hangover, I knew I could go just get a good sweat in and I'd be fine. So
that's fair. Yeah, see, I'm not. I'm a bitch, dude. I started getting 2-day hangovers like 2 years ago. So I'm like 26. When I was 24, I started getting 2-day hangovers. Might have been because I was drinking too much. That might be the other thing. I would get pretty belligerent. Yeah. But no, I wish I had that luck of just not having 2-day hangovers until then. It hurts. Those hurt. They're brutal. Absolutely nuts. Yeah. I was having this debate also the other day. What's better? It's the cheddar cracker. What do you prefer, Cheez-Its or Goldfish?
Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its? See, I'm a Goldfish guy. I think Goldfish are more better.
I don't like original Goldfish. Like, they have to be a flavored Goldfish.
The pizza Goldfish, I think that's the pizza Goldfish are the supreme.
They're pretty good. Yeah. But even then, the white cheddar Cheez-Its are way better. Than normal Cheez-Its.
Oh, they're pretty gas. They're pretty good. They're very good. They're extremely good. All right, man. That's what I got for you. I had to get the snack takes. That's what I got for you for this. If there's anything you want to give a shout out to or anything like that, man, go on ahead.
Yeah, I just want to shout out my sponsors, obviously. Team Turning Point, Mujer Beldi Consulting, MX2 Global. Big shout out to those guys. It's run by Michael Guyman, who's a legend, the Joker. Gripzilla for your hand grip strengthening stuff that you guys gave me. Diamond MMA, obviously, and Sheath Underwear.
All right.
Oh, and Haymaker Coffee. Haymaker Coffee. Check them out. They're amazing. There's a promo code in my bio where you can order stuff from them, but great coffee.
All right. Man's word. I agree. I'll try it out. All right. Appreciate you, man, for coming on. Always a good time talking to our man Juan. Can't wait to see what he does next. Might be a minute. We'll see what happens with PFL and when they get him back in there. But before we move on to UFC 276, I want to once again thank the sponsor of the show, Living Fit. Living Fit is a health and wellness company that will help you achieve all your goals, from building muscle, losing fat, or just trying something new. Not only are there workout programs that they can help with your nutrition and build out your home gym. For all the personal trainers out there looking to get certified in kettlebell or battle rope movements, they're the place to be. Make sure you go visit the website or download the app Living.Fit today. Now, let's move on to UFC 276. So before we get to Liam, we're going to do our usual 2-minute drill. So let's go on and kick off the music. If you want to listen to the actual breakdown, listen to him. A lot smarter. This is just the dumb shit that we do. So yeah. Kick the music. Let's get on into this thing. We kick off 276 with 2 hours of women's fights and Uriah Hall. But we'll focus on the sim queen of the night, Julia Rose Clark. You go, queen, as Julia Storlyanka will send you to your OnlyFans as she fails to capitalize on another handpicked opportunity. No sim July, fellas. We move on to the featured prelims of the night with Brad Tavares and Double D Places, who contains the most pound-for-pound aqua powered in the organization. Tavares laid lots of leg kicks. Like a lot. And we move on to Don't Call Me Conor McGregor, Ian McGarry. If he looks to trash talk Gabe Green out of the octagon with McGregor quotes and self-proclamation quotes, choo-choo Ireland, the train keeps moving. This isn't the time to fade. Wanna be Conor McGregor.
Whether in the bathroom,
I've fallen in the shower.
at home,
Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
and on the go.
Help! I've fallen in the park and I can't get up.
Don't worry, help is on the way.
War Cerrone. Moving on to the ABC headliner, Brad Quake Riddell against the Tarantula Jalen Turner. It's a tough week for spiders as the Tarantula is off to greener pastures in the Tarantula fights, a spider battle cube. Make that ass shake, baby, for the Brad Quake, baby. Roll Riddell. And we move on to the pay-per-view as Prelim Pedro is now Premier Pedro as he takes on Cotton Candy Wizard Sean O'Malley. This candy hits hard, but not enough as you need to strangle these two out to put their lights out. Don't be surprised if this one goes the distance as O'Malley gets his first real test. And we moved the road to ruthless Robbie Lawler, who ruthlessly rigged his road to the main card to put on an absolute slugfest against Brian Barbanero. Violence on violence on violence. In the featured fight of the card, we have the most electric guy on the mic, Sean Strickland, and Stonian's Alex Pereira, who are both now starting to realize that neither are actually fighting Israel Adesanya. Sean Strickland will have the most violent, boring decision this earth may ever see as he claims for the violence, but sniffs his way to an easy decision. And we move on to the people's main event. Angry Max Holloway looks to reclaim his spot as the king of the 145 division against the pound-for-pound best fighter, Alexander Volkanovski. A trilogy has never gone to decision 3 times, and that won't stop here. Please don't Tony Ferguson on us, Max. Actually though, don't. I think we're kind of going to it, but please be merciful. But on to the main event of the card as Israel Adesanya tries to punish the Heisenberg of crystal, not meth, Jared Cannonier. Hammerhand Heisenberg won't be able to pull out quick enough like Adesanya, who will come out with a counter KO or coast to a point decision. So that's what we got for UFC 276 2-minute drill. That's the final bell. Let's move on into LiamPicksFights and our full breakdown here. We are joined by a very special guest. He is a UFC capper, MMA capper specifically, but we are joined by Liam Heslin, LiamPicksFights. Liam, my man, what's up? How we doing?
Absolutely, man. Happy to be here. Very big fight week coming up. So I'm super excited. UFC 276, 2 title fights. The guy I consider the pound for pound best fighter in the world is going to be competing on Saturday night as well. So I think there's a lot to look forward to for UFC fans, and it's a tremendous night of fights. Both from an entertainment standpoint, and I'm hoping from a betting perspective, because I've got some plays already and fired up about the card.
Oh, same here. But pound for pound, I'm assuming you're referring to this guy from Australia. Am I right on that? Am I on the money there? Yeah.
You would be on the money there, man. Alexander Volkanovski, the man down under. He's been fighting the best guys in the division for some time now, and I think he's finally getting that credit and respect, but he's going to have to do it one more time against another one of the best in the division's history in Max Holloway. So hell of a fight, one of the best that they could put on in the UFC today.
Yeah, it should be. It should be the headline, but we'll get to that in a minute. I want to know about you real quick. So obviously getting to MMA and things like that, I don't think a lot of us grow up from the age of 2 or 3 watching UFC, watching fights, watching MMA. What got you into the MMA space? What got you to really be like, dude, you know what? I'm going to watch this and this is going to be my favorite sport.
You know what's funny is I actually started, and I think that this isn't uncommon as a pro wrestling fan. When I was young, my parents didn't even like me watching pro wrestling. They were like, it's too violent, it's too whatever. And so my brother was a big sports fan. I listened to a lot of talk radio, all this kind of thing. But I mostly was kind of drawn into the characters and the, The wrestling. I wanted to wrestle. And so I started wrestling in the 7th grade. That's when I took it up. And from there on, I was kind of hooked where I knew that I just liked combat sports better than other sports. It's for some people, they like that little bit of pause, the little bit of break. It's almost like a leisure activity. I like to get to work. I like to, compete. And that's kind of what combat sports is. It's not for, the glory and whatever. It's really about who wants it better and working hard and getting what you earn. And I think that for me, that was just a really valuable skill set in life. And I've wanted to stick with it ever since. And MMA is basically the logical conclusion of martial arts, and especially of my sport of wrestling. There's not really a great way to make money with the skills you develop, except for, putting it to work in the cage. So we've seen a lot of guys do that at a very high level. And I've been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for 3 years, and trying to just stay on the mat, stay active, keep getting better as a martial artist every day, and having fun doing it. I learn from the fighters I watch, and then I apply the skills that I'm learning to my handicapping as well.
Okay, I love to hear it. So, like, what was the fight that where you're like, all right, this is what I want to watch? Like, obviously, you were wrestling when you're 17, you watched WWE, things like that. Like, what was like the first UFC event where you remember watching? You're like, oh, this is so cool. Like, this is the thing.
So the thing is, UFC isn't like a lot of other sports where it's just coming on the TV every which way. You kind of have to fall into it. And I was homesick from school one day, and I saw George St. Pierre fights on my television during, just daytime broadcast. And normally I'm not around to see it. I wasn't around during that time, but I was like exposed to it for the first time. And so it kind of planted the seed in my mind, like, this is cool, but I don't know what it is. I don't know where to ingest this. All I knew then was like, all right, pro wrestling, that was fine. But now there's something real that I can like attach myself to. That's the same idea. It's big characters. There's a lot of conflict, but there's that conflict resolution, and it's all above board. And for me, that was a difference maker. I remember distinctly the Jose Aldo Korean Zombie commercial that came on my television. I didn't know who a Korean Zombie was, but I knew that I wanted to see that fight. And by UFC 175, Chris Weidman, Lyoto Machida, I was ordering every weekend, sitting in front of the couch every Saturday. I haven't really missed many UFCs since. So I've been all in for some time now.
Yeah, I remember my favorite thing is when I ask you guys about this stuff, like everyone who's like covers the sport, analyzes things, I always remember how fucking young I am, because like I'm not young, but I also realize like how new I am still to the sport. Like I was a casual until like right before the pandemic. I decided to get into it when Conor fought Cowboys. Like, all right, I'm gonna watch every card. I've done that. I've done a good job at it. But I hear you guys like 175 things, like, God damn, dude, I'm still so young. I still don't know too much. But I know I love this thing. And I remember like what was so that was for you. I remember for me it was Kimbo Slice. I remember seeing the Kimbo Slice.
Oh, okay, very nice. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, because he could watch his fights on YouTube. I remember just looking him up on YouTube, and I'd always watch his fights on YouTube, and then followed it from there. And then obviously you got McGregor, John Jones, all that kind of stuff. So no, I just wanted to get a little bit to know about you. But let's talk about this card. So I mean, like the prelims. I mean, you got the 2 women's fights. You got this. If you're a simp, I mean, I guess you'll really want to pay attention to it. We'll pay attention because I think there's some value maybe in one of these first 2 fights. So am I crazy to think Jessica Rose Clark is not gonna win this weekend, and that she's properly or is she being set up to win here by the UFC?
It's an interesting fight. I actually am going to agree with you that, maybe the wrong person's favored here. Certainly the line is a little bit wide considering the recent performances of Jessica Rose Clark. I don't know that she has one standout skill set. I would say that what separates her maybe, and the reason people might be flooding to play her, she's a little bit more process oriented. She's got a little bit more experience at this level, but truth be told, I think that she's got some, big holes in her game, some lapses. She's the much older fighter here. She's going to be a little bit smaller. Julija Stoliarenko really cuts a lot of weight to make the weight class as well. She's kind of like passed out on the scale a few times, a little bit concerning, but I do think she's kind of in a position where she needs to win this fight in order to keep her career going. So I think we're going to get a very motivated Julija Stoliarenko. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. She's got chops in judo as well, I believe. So I think that she should have some upside in this matchup. I think she should be the more dangerous fighter in terms of looking for a finish. But could I see Jessica Rose Clark edging out a decision here? I could. But I have to lean with the value on the underdog here in Julija Stoliarenko, and I did hit the plus 155 tag.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like there's a lot of matchups here where there's a little hype hype job, simps, all that other kind of stuff. A lot of lines here are a little out of whack here. And then you got Macy Barber, Jessica I, right? Is it Jessica I didn't write it down. I just going off the top of my head. Couldn't remember.
You betcha.
But Macy Barber, I know she last fight I've been going against her. I can't get one of her fights right. I know she just loves to punch the air. Do you think is she properly priced here? I don't really want to bet on this one because I can't get Macy right. But does Jessica even compete, or is Macy Barber going to continue her ascent in the division? Because I don't really think she will, but I don't want to look like an idiot here.
It's a tricky fight for me. This wasn't one that I was rushing to place a bet on for kind of the reasons you stated. I was on the Montana De La Rosa side last time out. Looked like a bad bet. In hindsight, she kind of got mollywopped in that fight. And I think it did show some improvements for Macy Barber, coming out there with a little bit more of an idea of pushing the fight into the clinch. She's a very physical girl, and she's got to put her skills and her attributes to use for her. Like you mentioned, at distance, the striking's not very clean. It's not very polished, not really well put together. But in the clinch, she has something that most women don't have, which is fight-ending power, fight-altering power. She hurt and finished JJ Aldrich, who's a pretty tough girl in her own right. She has some real wins, but she also has some, scratch your head type losses. I think when you're looking to lay the minus 250, now we're talking about upwards of 70, 75%. In order to clear a profit margin there. That's going to be tough for me. Though I think she could look like a hindsight big favorite here if she just takes down Jessica, gets on top of her and smashes her. But truth be told, Jessica is not very impressive at any one thing. However, she does have a pretty well-rounded game. She has been around for quite some time. I actually, funny enough, used to train at the same gym that she's training out right now, Strong Style MMA in Independence, Ohio. So I think she had done some camps away from Strong Style, and now she's back. I think that might actually bode well for her. They seem to have her in good condition for her fights in the past. But she's got some extracurriculars on the side. We talk about the OnlyFans and these kind of things, that fighters do to support themselves financially, but it could take away potentially from some of that investment in their career and their focus. So I think for those reasons, I wasn't tempted on Jessica I at plus 200, but this number is continuing to rise. I think she's up to the plus 245, plus 250 range. And then I would consider it a pretty clear dog or pass situation. But I do favor Macy Barber to win at a decent clip here.
Yeah, I was going to look it up real quick, see what we're actually at. Cause I know there's everything there's a lot of movement going on the past couple of days. Yeah, she's up to plus 240 where I'm looking at. So she's gotten up there.
There you go.
And then Muniz and Hall. Muniz is just going to sub Hall, right? Like, I feel like that's kind of like the expected thing.
Written in the stars, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, man, because Uriah Hall hasn't really been submitted. So this is the thing that I think makes the matchup compelling. Uriah Hall has gone against a couple of guys who are good grapplers. Antonio Carlos Jr. comes to mind. Talented guy. He's, making waves in the PFL. But I also think that has something to do with the fact that he's moved up in weight. He's probably on some good supplements. The drug testing is probably a little more lax, to be fair. And so I think all that might play a factor. But I do think there's, a clear dynamic to this fight, which is like Andre Muniz is probably, I'd say it's impossible to argue he's not a top 3 grappler in the middleweight division today. And I think it's very possible he's the very best one. Rodolfo Vieira, elite, excellent black belt, but we saw his wrestling doesn't necessarily fully translate. Andre Muniz has been submitting, world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners in MMA and guys who have never been submitted before. And I think that's kind of the theme to the matchmaking, to be fair. I think they're trying to find guys that haven't been submitted and be like, hey, look at this. Like, look how crazy this guy is because he submitted him too. And that's sort of the feeling I get here. But again, we just talk about odds and math and probabilities. The problem that I have backing my boy Muniz, and he's been my boy. I've actually cashed him, I think, 3 or 4 times now in the UFC. Cashed him to win by sub several times in a row. Bartosz Fabinski, that was literally free money. Bartosz submits himself. But I think that this is the kind of fight where it could be banana peel territory because Uriah Hall hits very hard, and Andre Muniz does not move his head. He does have 3 of his 4 career losses by knockout in the first round. So I think that, if Uriah Hall comes out here, maybe if they shake hands or something before the fight and Uriah feels comfortable, he might spinning head kick this guy. But, I just think Uriah at this point in his career, he's a little inconsistent to come out there, with that fire, with that motivation in his belly. He could hit him with a counter shot at any time that ends this fight. But I think, if anybody's going to finish Uriah Hall and kind of put an end to his run, I think it would be somebody like Andre Muniz, who I rate as an up-and-coming prospect.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about Uriah Hall. He's just so inconsistent. You just don't know what you're going to get that day. It's impossible.
Oh my gosh. I bet him by knockout against Strickland. And
I
it
did
was
too.
one of the worst bets I've ever made. So there you go.
I was the same
spinning
way.
head kicks, they deceived us. Easy dose made it look too easy.
Oh, he made it look way too easy. But I think this is the fight where we might disagree. I'm not sure. This next one is Tavares against Duplessis. Everyone and their mom seems to be on Duplessis, and I honestly don't know why. I love Tavares, and I think the fact that he's just ballooning up makes no sense to me. That's because like one of the best takedown defenses in all the middleweight division. He's super durable, so like I don't see him taking him to the ground. I think he has the better gas tank in general. Like, can you tell me why am I crazy for thinking Tavares is going to win this, and that the fact that he's this big an underdog is crazy? Am I crazy?
So I think crazy would be the wrong word, but here's what I'm going to say. I did get involved early on this price, and I took Duplessis when he was the underdog here. So I hit plus 108 on Dricus Duplessis. We've seen pretty strong market movement in his direction. Do I think that there's value to be had on Duplessis? No, I think at this point, any value that there was to be had is long since gone. I was telling people yesterday, I thought it was a better bet on the fight doesn't go the distance at minus 108 than it was to lay the money line price as it expands out to minus 150. Now you're talking about a 60% indication on a guy whose best win in the UFC is Officer Trevor Giles. So you do have to have like a little bit of let's not get ahead of ourselves here. However, I've been cashing on Brad Tavares for a long time. I like Brad Tavares. I think he's a very good fighter. And I think he's extremely good at being a defensive counter wrestler. So like if you try and come at him with a wrestle heavy game plan, you're going to get stuffed. He's going to punch you while you're holding a single leg. Like you're just going to have all these problems when you're trying to wrestle Brad Tavares. And we've seen good guys try and fail to wrestle him, including Omari Akhmedov in his last fight. But if you had to say, like, what archetype does Brad struggle with? I'd say there's two. There are guys that are better at stand-up kickboxing than him, so they make him look a little bit slower, a little bit more amateurish, and they look a little bit like they're styling out on him. I thought Izzy Adesanya is a good example of that. And then you look at other guys that have got him, it's just by bonking him on the chin, by just being big and scary and hitting him really hard. And I think that there is going to be moments of this fight where Duplessis is losing. I just have a feeling he's going to win emphatically at some point, probably in the first 2 rounds. The guy has just insane power. They call him still knocks because when he hits people, they stop moving. Like he really has weird power, not like, run of the mill. Like I load up a big shot and hit you. It's like, these throwaway shots that don't look like they're going to do damage, and the guy's snoring, and you're like, "What happened there?"
Yeah, like the way he got Giles.
Roberto Soldish.
Yeah, like the way he got Giles.
That Giles punch looked like awkward, like off balance, and Giles was like, "Where are we?"
And then who was the guy he fought before? Oh my god, I forget his name.
Marcus Maluco Perez.
Yeah, I was watching that today too. It's like the same exact thing. This little check hook, and then it was just like the most. It was.
He kind of keeps the high guard,
yeah,
free to come in, and he's actually more of a counter striker, and so I think it will be, that he's probably going to be on the other side of Tavares leading the dance. I just think eventually that counter shot is probably going to find the mark. And 3 out of 5 losses in the UFC have come by knockout for Brad Tavares. I don't like that coming into this fight. I think if the fight goes to decision, you have to favor Tavares. Duplessis has never seen a 15-minute scorecard. So I think that is something that bodes in his favor. However, this is a fight I see ending inside the distance, and I just think a little bit more dangerous is the Duplessis side. But would I be surprised to see Brad Tavares knock him out? No, because Brad Tavares, he has been in a lot of competitive striking fights where he hurt somebody and just didn't knock him out or finish him. And Duplessis is the kind of guy who's got 2 losses, both of them inside the distance. I wouldn't be stunned if Brad Tavares was able to get back on his finishing path here if Duplessis starts to gas out in the later rounds.
So pretty much it's guaranteed violence. That's pretty much what we're saying. Guaranteed violence.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why Dana White likes those guys.
yes, he loves those guys. And then so obviously there's a lot of guys on this card. Like there's a lot of prospects, a lot of guys with a lot of hype. And you got the next one. You got Ian Gary going up against Gabe Green. Is this obviously I think a lot of people are on the fade Ian Gary train. I think this is the spot, but is this actually the spot to finally fade Ian Gary?
So a bunch of sharp, smart guys that I know think that it is the time. I don't think it's the time, personally. I'm Irish, right? I can just disclose that up front to you guys. But I'm willing to bet against the Irish when it's appropriate, right? I faded Dean Barry and told people that you're a robot if you bet on Dean Barry as a -800 favorite because he wasn't very good on his fight tape. But that being said, this is a different kind of fighter. Ian Gary is a lot more put together. He's a lot more polished. I think that when you look at somebody like Gabe Green, he's a very raw fighter. He's got skills. He's not a bad fighter. He's got heart. He's a tough guy. He's going to come forward and kind of push the issue here against Ian Gary. But I think that might be to his detriment. I think he might be walking himself onto the harder shots here from Ian Gary. I think he hits a little bit harder than Gabe does. And I think he's a little more precise with his shots. I think Gabe is more willing to throw for the sake of throwing. Like he wants to throw and keep throwing things in your face, keep something on you. Whereas Ian Gary is going to pick a spot like he did against Jordan Williams to try and put something through your chin. So I think that could be a big problem for Gabe Green here on the counter. And then I also think that from a wrestling and grappling perspective, we've seen very little from Ian Gary so far in the UFC. But regionally, there was some reason to be hopeful that he could be competitive in the grappling. His Jack Grant fight, he was doing quite well in the grappling, had some hairy moments, but a lot of time has passed since then. He's a young guy, and he's training now with Sanford MMA. That's a world-class gym. So I don't think that we're going to see Ian Gary come out here and lay an egg. If he loses, I think it'll be a competitive decision where, Gabe Green just outlasts him, maybe throws a little more volume, gets the better of him. But I have a feeling that the more dangerous guy in this matchup is Ian Gary. I would not be surprised if he stunned him on the feet. I would not be surprised if he finished him on the ground either. So I like Ian Gary to get the job done this weekend.
So it's not the time yet. Gotta wait.
Yeah, I think the future is the time to fade Ian Gary, but I don't think the future is now.
No, it's not now. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for whatever he has to say after the victory, though. That's always What Conor McGregor lines? Yeah, what Conor McGregor thing is he gonna say this week? It's
goodness. I hope he wrote something original or paid somebody. Just maybe pay Conor.
Or the other thing is he'll be like, I'm the best trash talker in the UFC. No one can compete with me. Then it just doesn't say any trash talk. Just keep saying I'm the best talker. I'm the best on the mic. What are you saying?
Maybe if you say it enough times, people will think it's true.
So, I guess with the UFC, apparently he's trying to drill in our head. And so now we got some old heads. We got Cerrone, you got Jim Miller, and this is a lot better stylistic fight for Cowboy Cerrone than Joe Luzon. Is Cowboy going to ride off into the sunset with a nice fat dub, or is Jim Miller going to continue his, I don't even want to call it a resurrection. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's this finishing streak he's got going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, what else can you say? Jim Miller's been looking good lately. But, he's been fighting guys who are, probably not long for the UFC, let's say. I think Nicholas Moda is a somewhat talented guy, but I had a feeling he was going to have a tough time with Jim. Jim just has a bunch of things that he does that kind of answer what Moda does. Moda likes to pocket box, and Jim is not bad at boxing. He can stand in the pocket and bang even with these younger guys. But I think the problem is in their original fight, it's range. It's a range problem for Jim. Cowboy's a bigger guy than he is. The fight's going to be at 170. I don't like that for Jim necessarily. I think that what's interesting is that Jim is probably more prepared. Cowboy's done a bunch of half camps, half getting ready for a fight, push the date back, a bunch of things back to back. I think that's suboptimal for your preparation. However, in terms of confidence level, he knows he could beat this guy. He already did beat this guy. And I do think that people might be looking a little too hard into some of these losses for Cowboy. Listen, I said I'd never bet on him again after the Alex Morono fight. But matchups are everything. I haven't bet on him here, and I probably won't. I probably just end up passing on this fight, but it was for me a clear dog or pass situation here. When you've got Cowboy Cerrone, who I'm not sure he could take a clean punch very well anymore. And Jim can still punch. He can throw a good left hook to the head and to the body. Cowboy has always historically been soft to the body. But I just think that if Cowboy isn't completely shot, he's going to be dominating at kicking range. He's going to be throwing the intercepting knees. He's got more takedown upside than Jim at this stage of their careers, I would assume as well. So I think that for those reasons, the line doesn't make full sense to me. But am I eager to play Cowboy Cerrone in 2022? I can't say that I.
It's a dangerous game. It is a very, very dangerous game to bet on guy. I feel like just betting on guys that old in general, if they're not like heavyweights or light heavyweights, is just such like you're just.
That's one that ends in tears.
Yeah, that's exactly. Those would always end bad. Or like, you know, if you want to have some fun, throw like a half unit or something on it just for shits and gigs. But it's not really worth the investment. It's not worth the investment. And so
exactly.
Now,
that's when I like to sit back and watch.
yeah, you actually enjoy it and not like get too upset if one of the guys wins. Also, like both guys likable, so like who cares who wins? Like it's fun no matter what.
Agreed. And it's for the most wins in UFC history. So there's actually something on the line too.
It's like it's actually something actually has meaning to it. And so let's go on to another. Even though like Riddell's now kind of been seen as like not even, I don't know, all of a sudden like Turner's the upcoming prospect. Riddell is even kind of seen as a prospect, even though he's still pretty young in his career. So you got Brad Riddell, Jalen Turner. Everyone's on the Jalen Turner train. I feel like everyone's kind of writing off Brad Riddell after his loss to Vaseev, and Vaseev's no one to really bat an eye against. Again, this is kind of similar to the what was it earlier with Duplessis and Tavares, but I think it's a little. There is some people saying Riddell has a chance. For you, I mean, in terms of like I know the jiu-jitsu, Turner has a definite edge. Wrestling, Riddell has a pretty good takedown defense. Is this, and also he's Turner
and he's pretty good takedown offense.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's both ways. Man. It's I think that the lines, it's been moving now. Riddell is an underdog. I think it's like plus 125 now or something crazy like that. I mean, I keep saying the word crazy because again, as I've said, I'm still decently new into this, but I've watched enough. Is Riddell is kind of like people overlooking him? Kind of, is that not crazy to say Riddell's being overlooked?
So here's what I'd say. I think there's a lot. Again, this is going to be what I call a sharp split, right? Like when you have somebody like Duplessis, the people who are early adopters, they're going to be sharp most of the time, right? They're like, why is there a plus money number next to this guy who's way younger and he's got big power? But then there's going to be sharp buyback on the other side when they say, why is Brad Tavares, 10 years deep into a UFC run, an underdog to this, two guys deep into the division. So like that for me is a sharp split. I think we're going to see a sharp split on this fight as well. Why would you back Jalen Turner? He's got every physical advantage you'd ever want in a lightweight. He's massive. Like he's insanely big. He hits very, very hard. And he's got good chokes. So he's got basically a 3-tool attack. He can come forward with impunity because he's very long. He can hit you with long range strikes. And then if you start coming into the pocket, he's got big knees, big elbows, uppercuts. He'll grab a hold of your head and start ripping to your body. He's just got a bunch of attacks that are really like horrible. Guys do not like being on the other end of them. Jamie Malarkey was like seeing ghosts when he got hit with the first punch in that fight. He was like, why am I here? What just happened? And you'll remember he fought Brad as well. So it's like, these guys are both insanely tough. Both of them have the propensity, the ability to get off switched in this fight, as far as I'm concerned. You got Jalen Turner has a concerning amount of losses by knockout to be in a stand-up kickboxing match with somebody like Brad Riddell. However, I want to give him some grace. Most of those, he was a lot younger. He was, kind of finding his way in the sport. I think nowadays it would be a lot harder to put away somebody like Jalen Turner. And additionally, he had his UFC debut against Vicente Luque on short notice at 170 pounds, which was basically just like a kamikaze mission. There was no way he was being set up to win that fight. He was like minus 700 Vicente Luque or something for that bout. Okay? So exactly. And that's the kind of thing where I'm not going to hold that knockout loss against you, where to be honest with you, Vicente had to like hold him by the back of the head, get on top of him and punch him like 500 times to put him out. So I think he could take a better shot at this stage in his career, but he doesn't want to against Brad. Brad hits very hard. But I do think Brad is a little bit of a slow starter. So he comes out, he likes to make reads. I kind of thought he let Fazeev get the ball rolling in that fight, and I never thought he was able to get it back. That being said, Fazeev took a much more patient approach, and he was like just picking his spots. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a little bit of that from Turner here to try and conserve the gas tank, but I also wouldn't be stunned if Turner just tries to bull rush him and kill him early. And I think he's capable of doing that, frankly. Like, I don't think that Brad Riddell is a fish out of water. I don't think he's a dead side. Like, if Brad Riddell is still there and Jalen Turner spent everything in round one, it's exit on your Jalen Turner position and live bet Brad Riddell for whatever you could afford. But it's like, Also, if Jalen Turner goes out there with a measured game plan, he's keeping Brad at the end of his strikes and he's looking good and measuring distance and feeling okay. I don't think I'm going to be looking to exit my Jalen Turner position. So I did get involved on the Jalen Turner side. I did get in at an optimal number. So he actually opened up for this fight as a minus 175 favorite. And Brad Riddell plus 150 on the comeback. That was bet all the way down to basically a pick'em. So I think it was at the point minus 115 Jalen Turner to minus 105 Brad Riddell. I got involved pretty bigly at that point on the Jalen Turner side because I thought that the number should have been closer to minus 150. And now the market has adjusted to that. So again, when I say, do I think that Jalen Turner should win the fight? I do. I do think that he has both physical advantages and stylistic advantages that could win him this fight. But am I acknowledging that the value is now gone completely at minus 150? Yeah, there's no meat on the bone now. There's no value on Jalen Turner. This is more appropriately lined, I would say, because at the end of the day, the fight has so many variables. I don't want to get too cute and try and overthink this, but I just see one guy with these massive physical advantages. He's a little bit younger. He's a little bit more powerful. And, we just saw this guy get knocked out a few months ago, and he's trying to make this quick turnaround here. He has a bunch of wins by decision. This other guy's got a streak of wins by finish. Who do you think the UFC is trying to promote? Honest question. It's like, for me, they want Jalen Turner to be the next big thing at lightweight. Look at this string of wins we've got. We could set a rocket ship to this guy and send him to the moon. Whereas Brad Riddell right now is on hard times, and he's got a ranking by his name. That's not a place you want to be in a competitive division like lightweight or welterweight or somewhere where there's a guy up next waiting to take your spot if you slip up at all. And I think that the UFC said, who's our kickboxer guy from Tiger Muay Thai? Is it going to be Brad Riddell or is it going to be Rafael Fiziev? Well, they got their answer. One guy's in the main event. One guy's featured on the prelims.
Exactly. That's one thing that drives me nuts about those guys from the Pacific Islands, if you want to call it that. They will always start slow. Always start slow, which it does make sense. Like, you got to do that. But for instance, Jan, that fucked him in the Aljo fight. He just started way too slow. Didn't throw enough volume in the first round. If he threw a little bit more volume in the first round, he would have won that fucking fight. But
D3 wrestling, D3 wrestling, and the New York boys, man. They'll always teach you how to wrestle. If you guys don't pay attention, New York boys will teach you how to wrestle. That's what I always say.
I was on Aljo, so I was on that side too.
My brother.
I was on Aljo. I was on Aljo. It was
Aljo for a big bag.
Oh my god, I didn't have that. I had a decent amount. I remember I do stupid shit when I get. I don't know why I do this, but it's like one of those things where if there's not a knockout at a certain point in the main card, I'm like, someone's going to get a knockout. I'm just going to bet by knockout somewhere, some way. So I put fuck it. I'm going to put Aljo by submission. So in the third round, when he had Peter Yan in that rear naked choke, I'm like, holy shit, this is going to happen. But it didn't happen.
I thought we were cashing it too. I had a position on Aljo sub. I thought we were cashing that, brother. Next time. If Piotr Yan can ever get back to the title shot, maybe next time we'll get that sub.
Maybe. We'll get Peter. He'll be back, but will it be Aljo? I don't know. It depends on the matchup. Maybe who knows? I don't know. Hopefully he beats Dillashaw.
Murderer's Row coming up. That's all I'll say. There's no easy match at 135.
No, I would say it's probably the hardest division. I think so. I'd say so. At the moment, I'd say hardest division.
It's got to be top 5, man. Because I'll tell you what, featherweight and lightweight, they're just there's just. You could peek behind a corner at UFC headquarters. There's 7 people that could be ranked in the lightweight division. Guys hanging out that you've never heard of before. That you just pulled this guy from obscurity and he's a top 15 lightweight. And you're like, this is the best fighter I've ever seen. That's the talent pool worldwide for these divisions. It's just completely absurd. We're spoiled, to be honest.
We are very spoiled. You go at the 145, in any other, go to Bellator first. They have a ton of incredible 145 fighters. Even the 135 division, just so many studs. This is
Patchy Mix, another New York boy teaching him how to wrestle, shipping me a big bag.
Oh, I know. I wish I was too. I was trying to get I should have used multiple books, but I have money and I was going to put money in Patchy Mix. And by the time I went to go put in a bet, they closed the books. I was like, well, fuck, I've lost out.
Oh, brutal.
Bellator is what it is.
Weird, man.
Bellator is weird. It's super weird. If you actually do it in the States books and not offshore books, it's so much harder to bet on stuff that's not the UFC. They make it as hard as possible.
Low limits too. They don't want any action on that.
No, they want no action on that. So now let's go on to the main card. Pedro Munoz, Sean O'Malley. no longer, it was prelim Pedro for a second. Now we're back up to the main card. And as we kind of said earlier, like, who's the UFC promoting here? Obviously they're promoting Sean O'Malley. They're kind of hoping he can take that, like, Pedro's knockout, avoiding the knockout away from him. Not Sean O'Malley can be the guy to knock him out. Is this a spot? Is Sean O'Malley going to take that? I mean, at the very minimum, I think he goes to a victory, but I just don't know. Is it going to be a knockout or is it going to be a decision? Even though Pedro is a live dog, I think still.
Yeah, I would have to classify him as a live dog. But I think the UFC is very good at what they do, man. Yeah. And I think in this case, what they're looking to do is get somebody who's a little bit more foot slow, who's starting to be a little bit more reactive in the striking. And they're trying to pair him up with somebody that they think is fast and dynamic and can move around him and dance around him and has the length and can stick him on the end of a jab. So I think this is going to look in some ways like a classic Pedro performance in which he's coming forward and he's like trying to get in the pocket, swing the hooks and like get you to commit to an exchange. But I just have a feeling O'Malley is going to do a lot of moving, a lot of shaking, a lot of head faking and getting this guy out of position. The problem that I have with backing O'Malley here, and not to say that I'm not going to do it, but just the thing that's like sticking in my craw and has kept me off to this point is just the leg kicks. I don't like his reaction to leg kicks. I think he's suffered a few injuries that are concerning in terms of like foot drop. I don't like to see that. Henry Cejudo gets a pass because I only saw it happen one time, and he fought through it like an absolute soldier. But for most people, when they experience that like foot drop, it could be really debilitating. It could impair their ability to fight. So that's a huge red flag for me against a guy who's like known for being one of the hardest kickers in the division. Now, that being said, O'Malley is not an idiot, right? Like he puts off in his interviews that he's like, just goofing around or whatever. He's a very well-studied fighter. He comes in well-schooled on his opponents. He's not going to be like, oh, let me just get my leg kicked off here. I think he's going to have addressed that for this fight in some mean mode or fashion. Is it going to be sufficient? That I don't know, because Pedro is a hell of a leg kicker. Like Aldo is one of the best leg kick checkers that we've ever seen. Like he just can read when you're about to throw one, turn his leg out, lift it a half inch off the ground, just does things that make it suck to throw kicks. And Pedro is beating up his own leg. So I think that in this fight, O'Malley's not going to be as schooled as somebody like Aldo, but he is a little bit younger. He should be working on strength and conditioning and like building muscle in those like sensitive areas on the body. And I think he's probably doing all that. I think that he's one of the wealthier guys in the UFC on the lower end right now. Money matters. Can buy you more training time. It can buy you better supplements. It can buy you, like more time with the coaches, like better recovery. Don't have to go work another job. It's really important. So I think that's another factor here is like Pedro Munoz. The thing that's interesting about him and makes him a live dog is he's probably fighting for his life and career. Like he's like fighting for his ability to make money, as a fighter in the top 10. And like, this is a guy who's just fighting the Jose Aldos and the Dominic Cruzes of the division. Like he is like trying to be a world champion, but doors closing at his age. And I think that for him is the ultimate problem. He was older than Jose Aldo, I believe, or like right at the same age. And, Aldo's been a champion and he's been around forever. And he's like on the 5th iteration of his career and, still doing better than Pedro, so it's like, that was for me, like the fight that just kind of said like, Pedro's really not that guy. He's not going to be at that level. And I think O'Malley still could be. Is he there yet? That's the open question. That's what you got to pay to find out. But I have a feeling that he is. And whether it's via decision, or a stoppage of some kind, I think that Sean O'Malley is probably going to get the victory. But the one last thing I'll leave people with here is that Pedro Munoz doesn't wrestle. He just he doesn't attempt to do it. He's a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. So if Sean, gets hurt and tries to wrestle him, could turn into bad news bears. Like I remember the Rob Font fight was going fine for Rob Font. He got hit with one body shot that made him like second guess everything. Shot for a takedown and the fight was over shortly thereafter. Munoz, he doesn't hit a guillotine. He hits a roll through guillotine into like flexing on you. Like he's that good on the ground. So I think that if Sean wants to get a hold of Pedro, he's going to have to hurt him first. But I wouldn't be surprised if either one of these guys tried to lock on a sub in a transition, because that the other thing that people don't know about Sean is like the guy is out there competing in jiu-jitsu decent bit. He's trying to get better constantly. So, he talks all the time about wanting to make a statement and prove these things in the division. Yeah, if he tried to lock up a sub, I wouldn't be surprised. That's all I'm gonna say.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I was gonna say it's worth a shot. It's like how, like, I don't know, all of a sudden all the times like, yeah, I go out there for submissions and shit like that. Like, no, you don't, dude. At least O'Malley, I believe it. I believe it with O'Malley because I've seen him do it in tournaments. I don't see Adesanya out there grappling or doing any shit like that. I actually believe it with O'Malley because you see it. You actually see him doing it.
Absolutely.
So, it is what it is. No, but yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's hard to bet. It's also hard to be like, oh, Munoz is going to get a shit rocked. Like, he's just been so fucking tough. He's just been so goddamn tough his entire.
And that's what they try and put you between a rock and a hard place, where they give you an undesirable money line. So you think, I think O'Malley's going to win, but do I really want to lay minus 300? So then you start prop shopping or whatever. And that's how they get you. So I think for me, it's probably either going to be a fight I target from a money line perspective or I stay away from, because I don't want to get too cute with it here. I think the bookmakers are going to be all over it. So
maybe a little parlay
action.
It's
a fight where if there's a big buyback on the dog, maybe I'll get involved on O'Malley.
Yeah. Maybe even like a parlay piece. Put O'Malley in a parlay piece, like him and.
See, I try my very best to avoid parlays.
Same. I do too.
I know a lot of MMA bettors like to do that, so that's why I don't discount it. There's a lot of people that make money different ways. So however you make money, make your money. Yeah. It's a lot harder for me to make money on the parlays. It's hard enough to get one bet right. Might as well try and get them each one at a time is how I feel. And then evaluate your strategy from there. So that's what I will look to do. But I know not everybody's looking to play the minus 3XX spread on these kind of fighters. And that's perfectly justifiable. I would always encourage people, look for live dogs that you want to play, as opposed to looking for, this is a good guy to lay minus 4XX. It's like, yeah, well, if you get one of those wrong, you got to get 5 of them right now to get back to where you started. So that's the kind of thing from a math perspective that people got to remember. It's always better to find a live underdog than to lay the juice on a sketchy favorite.
Couple times there's always every I don't think there's really a fight on this card where you can be like, if the first round goes one way, just immediately bet the other guy. I don't think we really have one of those on this card. I think for the most part everything seems pretty. There's no, like, what was it, like every time you get Kudalaba or whatever, every single time he goes the first round, just bet against him every single time if they make it out. Like that, he's like one of those prime guys where he makes it out of the first, you just go the other side. So it's things like that. So then we got one old guy going against we got Robbie Lawler. Didn't look even though he beat Nate Diaz at the end of the day, wasn't, I don't know if that's saying a whole lot, being this reminiscent of Nate Diaz going against Barberena. I mean, this line doesn't really make sense to me. I don't understand why it's not more towards Barberena, but it is what it is. Well, what about you? Am I stupid for saying that? Am I stupid for thinking that? Is it just because Lawler is a big name that it's closer to a pick'em?
I honestly don't have a very strong opinion on this fight. It's one of the lowest level fights in the card in a sense. Both these guys are very talented, but just at the stage of their career that they're at. I actually had the pleasure of watching Brian Barberena's last fight in person. I was at UFC Columbus. Yeah. And I kind of thought that could have been scored for Matt Brown.
I thought it was Matt Brown.
Exactly. And now granted, I was a definite Ohio homer in that opportunity. But I think in this fight, it's a winnable fight for Brian Barberena, again, just like his last fight. But it's a fight that's not going to be a, walkover, I don't think either. I think Brian's going to have to earn this one. But I don't want to get sold on a bill of goods because Robbie Lawler's competing, well with the Diaz brother at this stage. I think more so for me, the problem with Brian is just that he's kind of soft to the body. Like he always has been. He's a tough son of a gun, but he could just get hurt to the body. And Robbie throws there, like he'll throw shots to the body. He'll dip with shots to the body. He put out a decent output against Diaz as well. Kind of like seemed like he might be able to match a strike count with Barberena if he doesn't completely death gas. So for me, it's a complete stay away, man. I'm not going to try and pretend I have a passionate take on why Robbie Lawler, the ghost of Robbie Lawler. And I say this, these are some of my favorite fighters. My favorite fight of all time is Robbie Lawler and Rory McDonald too. So at UFC 189, unbelievable event, unbelievable fight. Robbie Lawler got a signed t-shirt, everything you could imagine. I love the guy, but the time is done. The time has closed. That was when I was first an MMA fan, watching Robbie Lawler have the fight of the year every year, right? It's like those times have long since passed. He's not a champion anymore, and he's really not even in that top 15 echelon. So it's now, fun fights for Robbie Lawler. I hope he wins because he's a legend, and Brian Barberena is frankly not. But he's a fun guy. He's an action fighter. So I'm not going to fault Barberena if he goes out there and gets another win for his farm and his family and his kids. But it's just, for me, I'm rooting for ruthless Robbie Lawler.
It does. When you look at the card too, and if you kind of go through all the prelims and such, I mean, you can honestly, if you were going by like in terms of talent or like importance to their divisions, this should be like on the early prelims. Like realistically, like if you look at like importance and like
Robbie was pissed though. He was like, I've never been on the
yeah.
prelims in my career, so put me back on the main card. And they're like, fair play.
Well, and now we got someone who's been skyrocketed in the UFC, Pereira against Sean Strickland. Am I crazy to think Strickland's game plan is going to be kind of like what he did with Uriah Hall, and he's just going to grapple fuck him to death?
So I think this is, again, one of the harder fights to call on the card. It's a pick 'em fight. I think that's appropriate, right? I think whoever wins might look like a hindsight big favorite, but I do think that pre-fight, it's very hard to know what the dynamics will look like for a couple of reasons, right? If I told you Sean Strickland attempts 5 takedowns, it's like, you might line the fight a certain way. But if I told you Sean Strickland attempts 0 takedowns, you might say, well, he's got no chance of winning. I might tell you, I think that's not true. Because I think Sean Strickland can kickbox. He's been doing it for 10 years at the UFC level, basically. Like, the guy's been around a very long time. And I don't think every UFC fan knows that he came in kind of like touted as like a grappler, like coming in, first win, submits Bubba McDaniel. So like this guy came in with a little bit of clout for like being a grappler, and he couldn't find his weight class. He couldn't find his bearings. He kind of went back and forth. He was at 185. He had a couple wins, and then he went down to 170. I felt like it kind of compromised his chin a little bit. I felt like it also took away from his strength, his physicality. He was getting bodied around by the likes of Kamaru Usman and these guys. Even though he was a little bit bigger and taller than them, I don't think he had that same kind of strength, horsepower, anything like that. So I think at 185, he's actually a lot more dynamic of a fighter. What's the problem there? Well, the problem is he's got Alex Pereira in front of him. Alex Pereira trains like 45, 50 minutes from me, something like this in Connecticut. And I've driven past the Glover Teixeira gym. It's nothing to write home about. You're not going to talk about the modern architecture or something. It's just a place where a bunch of hard-nosed sons of guns get together and work really hard to do better at MMA. And I think that, working with a Glover Teixeira, with a Wellington Turman, those are serious guys. Those are black belts. Those are guys that are going to push you. Those are guys that want to wrestle. They're guys that aren't afraid to push that pace. And I think that we've seen gradual improvements fight over fight from Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
I think that there are possibilities that he gets taken down in this fight and still wins. I think there are possibilities that there are no takedowns and he loses the fight. But I think most often when I watch this fight, when I think of how it plays out, I think Sean Strickland ultimately is too willing to fight people. Like, he just wants to get in a fight with people. And he's kind of weird. Like, he's just straight up kind of weird. If you watch his fights, he has opportunities to finish. I'm saying, like, he's, but as a fighter,
both, inside and outside. Yeah.
He's good. Like, make no mistake, he's a very talented fighter, but he does things that make no sense. Like, you talked about that Uriah Hall fight. He had opportunities to finish Uriah Hall. He hurt him. And he would take him down and like throw him to the ground and like give him a chance to recover. He was hitting Jack Marshman with clean combinations, and then he'd be like, "Put your hands up, Jack." Like, whatever. And he kind of like wants to be out there like styling on guys. And like, I do believe, like, if you went past all the bullshit, heart of hearts, like, I think that Sean Strickland would tell you, I am a better fighter in every phase than Alex Pereira. And I believe he believes that. So I think he's going to walk forward and treat him with no respect and walk him down. That's truly what I think is going to happen. From there, I don't know what's going to happen. I expected Pereira to have a higher knockdown rate. When I looked, it wasn't as impressive as I thought. Bruno Silva kind of has a brick for a head, so it's a little bit understandable in that regard. But Andreas Michailidis has the opposite of a brick for a head. Whatever you would call it, the opposite of that. Like he's got a soft sponge for a head. But I think this is the kind of matchmaking that is like why the UFC is so good at what they do. You know, it's perfect. I think about this stuff all the time. I have no idea who's going to win. I think it's a fascinating fight because MMA fans are going to want Sean Strickland to win this fight to validate all they know about MMA, which is like, you need to know how to do this. You need to do how to do. But the truth of the matter is fights are variables. And so you go out there, you get hit with one clean left hook trying to walk somebody down. It doesn't matter who's a better fighter. It matters who's awake. It matters who's here right now. So I think for all those reasons, you know, from a dynamism standpoint on the feet, I would have to favor Pereira ever so slightly here because I think he's a little more dynamic on the feet. I think if it turns into a stand-up kickboxing match, it will be a closely contested decision where either guy could win. But I think Pereira's use of kicks could be the difference maker in that fight. Ultimately, man, it's one of the hardest fights to call on the card. I wouldn't get past either one of these guys being a -125 favorite. And I think that, you know, if you're looking for a crazy prop, I do think, I know a lot of people have said it this week, and that's what makes me think it's not going to happen. But Sean Strickland by sub. And
oh my God, that's what I was going to say.
It's truthfully like, it makes some sense. Like Sean is a good jiu-jitsu player. He just is. He's a black belt level jiu-jitsu player for sure. And he's trained with guys that would whoop Alex Pereira in jiu-jitsu so fast your head would spin. So it is interesting, but I think what ultimately might save Pereira is just that sheer physicality. He's insanely big. Like he is very big for the division. He's got wide shoulders, a big wide back. He's very hard to wrap your hands around. Like I just think it's going to be difficult for somebody who doesn't primarily grapple to grapple this guy really hard. You give Andre Muniz this challenge, I think Andre Muniz submits him in the first round. I truly do. But if you give Andre Muniz 30 seconds with this guy at distance, he's probably snoring face down in the octagon. So it's like, that's why Alex Pereira is a different kind of animal, because he's got really shocking one hitter quitters, and he's still just finding his range in MMA. So like, is it going to surprise anybody if he looks a lot better in this fight than he did in his last fight? It's not going to surprise me. But the last thing I'll say on this fight is just like, the one thing I've noticed about the UFC, they do like when their guys who have been around for a long time win. What I mean by that is like, if they've got this guy like Sean Strickland, they've invested 10 years in it, and then they've got this guy they've pulled in for 2 fights off the street. It's kind of like Dricus du Plessis. It's like they're either going to take this new guy and move forward with him, or they're trying to give this established credentialed vet that liftoff they need by making a big, compelling story. Because how amazing would it be for Sean Strickland's buzz and career if he submits Alex Pereira in the first round? Now it's like, F what you think, Izzy. I'm the guy who takes out your demons. Like, I'm your demon slayer. You can't even finish this guy. I finished this guy. That would be a huge, compelling story as well. So I think all roads lead to something entertaining after this middleweight Grand Prix we've got going on.
See, a part of me really wants to, I think the only reason I'm actively cheering for Strickland is purely because, like, we have the press conference here coming up soon, but his press conference with Izzy would just be so funny. I just think I don't know how the UFC could control him, all the stuff they'd have to do marketing wise. Like, he's not going to go on First Take. He's not going to go on any of those like ESPN like shows. They literally can't put him on those shows. Imagine him saying,
he'd be on InfoWars.
Yeah, he'd be on InfoWars. He'll go on Joe Rogan at least, but no, he's there's a lot of different things. Like, I just think it'd be interesting, and then also at the same time, though, this is not like it's the only time Pereira is gonna get an opportunity to like be a fight away from fighting Izzy. He loses this, they'll give him 2 more fights, and that second fight will be to go fight Izzy. Like, they will fight at some point or another. I think Pereira and Izzy are going to fight. It's just a matter of when, not if. So
I agree.
Yeah, UFC, they matchmake. The way they matchmake, there's a plan behind everything. So I don't think this is gonna be the split decision that fucks everyone up, makes everyone mad. I mean, we're gonna have one every week at this point. I don't think until things change, there will be one person who gets fucked over. We got Max and Volk. So personally, you as you said at the very beginning, Volk, pound for pound best fighter. Do you going through the scorecards? Did he win the last fight in your opinion?
I did think that he won the last fight. So I went back and rescored both these fights actually this week. I think the first fight, is either 4-1 or 5-0. Volkanovski.
Well, I agree with that. Yes,
and
100%.
I think that the second fight was 2 rounds to 3 for Volkanovski. I thought the first 2 rounds went to Max, and I thought the last 3 rounds went to Volk. But I will acknowledge that the 2 Max rounds are very clear rounds. He wins with knockdowns. He lands the better strikes in those rounds. But then I thought rounds 3, 4, and 5 were very close, and Volk slightly edged all 3. And so that's the tricky thing about MMA scoring. It doesn't always feel satisfying, but I did think they actually got it right that time. They often get it wrong. So I did think they got it right that time. And I thought Volk was the rightful winner, but I couldn't have faulted them if they chose Max. There was a hell of a contentious fight, and both guys fought their ass off, really. I thought the fact that Volk was able to adjust mid-fight speaks to his character, and also, that was his off night. That was like a guy showing up to work when he didn't want to be there and finding a way to dig out, the results. And I was very impressed by that guy. I think he's the ultimate competitor.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm on the same page. I think he is the pound for pound best fighter. But there's a part of me that thinks, as we've said, the past 2 weeks we've had the rightful winner, not win. I think Volk is going to win this fight, but they're going to give it to Max. That is, I think this is going to go to distance, and they're going to give it to Max. Not for storylines, purely off the fact that they're just going to get it wrong. And I just think it'll be the scenes on Twitter and everything are going to be just chef's kiss.
I have a feeling, and this, admittedly, it's just a feeling, but I have a feeling that this fight is going to end inside the distance. I don't think, I have to double check this, but I heard somebody say this week, and it sounded right to me, that there has never been a trilogy in UFC history where one of the fights did not end inside the distance. And so, again, I do need to fact check myself on that, but I think that is true off the top of my head, where most of the time somebody gets finished in one of these iterations of the fight, if not multiple. Because I could definitely think of iterations where more than one athlete was finished. Kane and Junior come to mind. Both of them ended up finishing each other at various points. So Francis was able to come back and finish Stipe in the rematch as well. So we've seen a couple of fights. DC and Stipe, they traded the knockouts. I'll leave it there. But when I look at Volk, I see that a guy is starting to sit down on his punches. He's starting to be a little bit more aggressive. He's starting to be more confident in every fight. And I think he's really pissed off that people don't regard him as the best fighter on the planet, because I think he is. And I think, when he has to deal with this Max Holloway litigation every 2 weeks and whatever, I think that really pisses him off, because, Max says that he won both the fights, and he didn't win the first fight.
No, I think that's bullshit. I think that's such bullshit. People come out and be like, "Oh, Max won the first." No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He lost.
Either way, it's just like, if Max really thinks that, for me, that's a slight mental edge to Volk. But either way, then it comes down to, like, Max has said, "I don't want to leave this in the hands of the judges. I want to, put this guy down. Like, I want to make a statement. I want to get after him. I want to hurt him. I want to put him on the back foot." And then you've got Volk on the other side, who wants to get rid of this guy like a bad gnat who's just been flying around his head for his whole title reign. And it's pretty hard to argue that Alexander Volkanovski is not the greatest featherweight in the history of the UFC, certainly, if he wins this fight, because he would have then beaten Max Holloway times 3, Jose Aldo, Chad Mendez, Brian Ortega, the Korean Zombie. It's like, need I say more? It's like he beat all the other best guys cleanly. It's pretty hard to do. And I think if he's able to put away Max, it would make the ultimate statement. Max never been finished at 145. No, Poirier back in the day, but he hasn't been finished at 145. By submission in early fight back when Poirier was still 45.
I thought you were saying knockout. I was like, well, no, I thought that was a submission. That's why I was like double checking that for a second. Like, no, he's been finished.
Yes, and so I think if Volk was able to finish him, it would really make a statement. I think that's what he's going to look to do here, and I think a lot of people are going to be on the overs, and the fight goes the distance, and Max 5 points, and these kind of things. I think they're going to swing to a finish. That's how I feel. I think. One way or another, I think somebody's probably going to go down in round 3. I think both these guys hit hard, and I think both of them have enough respect for each other. I've seen it more and more in these fights that they're willing to exchange. I think that we see it again. So should be a hell of a damn scrap. I'm excited.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun, and as I think we've already said this, I'm pretty sure, and what you'll see all week is like this really is, and it is the main event. Like this should be the main event. It should be what headlines the card. But Izzy is technically speaking, he is the bigger star. He is the international guy. But Izzy, I mean, this fight with Max and Volk is like this is the greatest featherweight fight of all time. Like, and it should be headlining the card. World class. And so let's talk about the main event. Adesanya Cannonier. This field has the makings, I feel like, of Izzy just counters him to death and eventually finishes him, putting him away. So that's how I feel. This is how I feel it's going to go.
So I kind of I would agree with you if it was a pick'em price, right? Like
but not minus 500. Like, it's ridiculous. The price is wild.
This is the thing for me that I was just like, clear dogger pass in the main event. Too much betting action, too much publicity, too much line movement, too much confidence in the market. I just think Jared Cannonier is like a hard guy to stand in front of with a ton of money because he's extremely durable. I know that he's been finished before, but most of those are at heavyweight and light heavyweight. Look up the guys who finished him. They're like killers. So then you look at his run through middleweight, he got hurt badly against Bobby Knuckles, found a way back into the fight, hurt him badly. It's like, I think he did that with a broken hand as well. The guy is built differently than a lot of people. He's very mentally strong. I think he's a focused individual, and I think he's a really dangerous guy. He carries power in his hands. He carries power in his kicks. He can blast you with low kicks. And I think that that's something that could play a big factor in this fight. But I also think that the casting hooks of Jared Cannonier could play a role. I think that Jared Cannonier's work to the body, Izzy's got a big, long torso. Not a lot of guys are really getting in there trying to hurt him with body shots. I think Jared's going to try to do that in this fight. And I think that Jared is a way more tactical fighter than he gets credit for. He kind of presents different approaches to guys. Gastelum, he kind of fought him on the outside of his range. Found him with jabs that were meaningful and that swayed the fight in his favor. Against Whitaker, he was able to get off on really important kicks and just stayed committed to his outside low kick game and just brutalized the leg of Robert Whitaker. And by the end, it was a very effective strategy. He kind of ran out of time there, ran out of minutes. He's got 25 minutes to work here. I think that's an interesting fight. I think it's going to come down to two guys that want to get into a stand-up kickboxing match, getting into a stand-up kickboxing match, but one of them's pretty physical and a little more stout, shorter to the ground. So if he decides we're going on the cage, I think he can push him to the fence. I think he can, maybe shut him down for some minutes in ways that other guys who tried to be technical couldn't do. I think if you try and be physical, you can do that. Jan Blachowicz isn't the most technical grappler in the world. He was physical as shit, and he just got on top of him. I think that's the kind of thing where Jared Cannonier is not going to be hitting the world's fanciest double leg or something. But if he runs through this guy at full speed, like Yoel Romero, I think he's going over because he's just built like a house. So for me, Cannonier presents enough stylistic challenges and intrigue at the price that it's a clear dogger pass situation for me. But I think that it should be a compelling main event. I think a lot of people are down on this. I think it's one of the more interesting fights for Izzy in a while because normally there's not really a threat. There's not really something that like Marvin Vettori, I bet him in that spot. There was nothing he could bring to bear. He just was out there like trying to win minutes. That's tough. This is a really good guy at winning minutes in Israel Adesanya, but he's not that dangerous. He's a dangerous guy. He can knock you out. If you get reckless, if you get careless, he can knock you cold. He can hit you with big hard shots. What do most guys do? They make it to 25-minute distance. They compete with him for the full minute. So I think that for those reasons, I can't get behind a minus 500, 85%.
It's ridiculous.
In a stand-up kickboxing match at 185? Come on.
No, with the guy built like Jared Cannonier? No. That price is ridiculous. It's like
he was having the worst fight of his life and then insta-kill Derek Brunson. It's like, what? You guys sure you want to do that? Like Derek Brunson was on the run of his life, and then all of a sudden, in an instant, it just went up in smoke.
Full back fist.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and it's unorthodox stuff. Like, who throws that?
Yeah, that was a weird move. That was filthy. Cannonier is filthy. It's those crystals, man. Those crystals, they give you powers.
Yeah, they'll treat you different.
They treat you different, man. All right, man. That's the card. As we go through it all, appreciate you coming on. If we were to go back,
Anytime.
oh yes. And if we were to go back and go through the entire card, if there was one person, I don't say the L word on this show. I bleep it out. I think that's a cursed word. If you say the L word, automatically loses. But if you were to go and say like, there's something like, you know what, this is like, you're not obviously, I'm not gonna say put 10 units on it because that's only a special circumstances. But if you're like 10 unit, we're gonna do it. Let's do it. If you had to pick one, what would you say?
So here's what I'd say. I think that there's a good way to target either the Dricus Duplessis fight or the Jalen Turner fight, which is to say the fight is not going the distance, right? I am personally on the side of the guys who are a little more violent, a little more get to the point, power guys, maybe a little more dynamic submission threats. But these are the guys that are a little more unproven in that round 3, a little bit less known quantities defensively. And so for that reason, you want to take a little bit more insurance. Why lay the minus 155 to find out if Jalen Turner is the guy? Why lay the minus 140 to find out if Dricus is the guy when I could have had plus money last week and I slept on it? Now, instead, why don't I take the short price on the fight doesn't go the distance and give myself 2 outs, which is like either everything goes according to my plan and this guy gets the early finish, or he busts out, he's gassed out in round 2, he looks like crap, he gets finished, and I still cash the bet, easy money. So that's what I would say. Those are 2 fights that, in my opinion, are going to promote violence. I know Brad Tavares doesn't have a ton of finishes in the UFC, but he does have 2 wins by knockout. And again, I stress, Dricus has never been to the scorecards. 2 losses, both of them inside the distance. I think both guys have a chance to finish there. I prefer that fight because it's actually lined a little bit closer in terms of the fight does or doesn't go to decision. But if you want a little bit of a safer play, Brad Riddell and Jalen Turner are going to beat the shit out of each other until one man falls. And I truly believe that that fight is not going the distance either. So I like both those spots a lot.
Riddell Turner is going to be fight of the night, in my opinion. Either that or Munoz and O'Malley. I think Munoz and O'Malley could also.
I was going to say Barberena and Lawler. If they can hold it together, it's an old man fight, but they're going to be in the pocket, swanging and banging. So I think it should be good fun.
There's really, you look at this card too, realistically, there's not a whole lot of like grapple fucking crotch sniffing going on here. It's a lot of violence. It's a lot of violence. Oh, you betcha,
man. They know what they're doing on a card like this. They put together a lot of dynamic finishers. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they put it together. All right, that's the card, man. Appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you.
Anytime. Thanks very much, boss. Take care.
Follow him on Twitter, Liam Picks Fights.
Absolutely. At Liam Picks Fights everywhere, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. Thank you guys so much. God bless you all. Enjoy the rest of your day, and let's win some money.
Goddamn right. All right, well, that was a lot longer, honestly, than I expected. It's going to go an hour. I said 30 minutes. We just started shooting the shit. When you shoot the shit, stuff happens. It is what it is. Go on ahead and wrap this bad boy up before we got this long weekend of fights. And just sports in general. We got NBA drama coming out this weekend, literally before we recorded this. Katie,
whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Katie's already come out and said he wants requesting a trade. You got fucking Jalen Brunson becoming the face of the New York Knicks, which is still stupidest fucking moves I've seen. I like Jalen as a player, but making him the face of your franchise. Oof.
It's interesting. It's a move.
Not even just that, like the way they were like moving assets and getting rid of people, just to then go all in on Jalen Brunson. Again, as I said, like I like Jalen Brunson, but
he's a good player. But
I hope it backfires.
Face of the franchise.
I hope it backfires on like me saying that. But same time, we can both say we both cheer for the New York Knicks' downfall. Like I think I can speak for both of us when I say that. Like I feel bad for their fans. Like this has to hurt.
Oh,
it has to hurt.
Hurts. It has to hurt so bad. Like any fan who's been in that position where your team just is stuck in mediocrity will say that's probably worse than being bad. Because at least when you're bad, you can like draft players and move forward. It's that mediocrity.
It's the fact that the Knicks have fallen from going after guys like Amari Stoudemire, Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, let's go out on Jalen Brunson. Oh, tough scene.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Tough pill to swallow. I actually do hate that. I don't want to. There's some franchises who will do dumb shit. The Knicks aren't one of those. They're not a franchise that usually does stuff like this. Basketball is better when the Knicks.
Recent memory has been horrible for the Knicks. They will want to wipe the 2010s out of their memory.
No, they had the first 4 years with Melo, Stoudemire.
Yeah,
but they just ran into the Pacers and the Heat. Yeah, it didn't get too hot. And they obviously had like Durant demanding a trade. As conspiracy theorist here, I thought if Kyrie left, KD would stay. The fact that Kyrie came back, KD's like, I don't want to be here anymore because I like Kyrie as a player. I think Durant realized he can't win with them because I don't know what happened to Kyrie. He's such a head case now. It sucks. I love watching him play basketball, but his mind and everything, like the way he
I
thinks,
don't know what happened.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. If you go back to watch him when he was first on the Cavs, and I don't
Flat
know,
earther
man.
shit.
Yeah, the flat Earth shit. I believe him when he said he was just calling people out to see if they do it. Like, to be like, I think he was doing that on.
That's something that like you can
Since
fake
then,
off,
though,
but
since then he's gotten kind of bananas. Kind of bananas.
Yeah.
I like Kyrie, but it's getting hard. It's hard to be a Kyrie fan right now. Which actually
definitely is.
We can actually go on in. That's actually my first medal was Kyrie. Kyrie has destroyed another team.
Let's go.
Team. Kyrie's what 3 for 3. He didn't completely destroy the Cavs because LeBron
and
was
he did
still
get
there.
a ring out of that. So
he did.
I'd say that 2 for 2 after leaving the Cavs.
Yeah, after LeBron, he couldn't. Yeah. Also,
it's like new. You can put Kyrie into 2 eras, BL and PL, before LeBron and post LeBron.
All I'm saying is LeBron made it work with Kyrie. Durant couldn't even make it out of the first round with Kyrie. So tough.
Who's the GOAT now?
Who's my GOAT? Yeah, that's also this is such a tough day for Kevin Durant. He's already getting called soft as fuck for leaving Golden State. Then as soon as people were starting to like him again in Brooklyn, we're like, dude, this is awesome. He did request to trade out so he can go join 2 of the top teams in the NBA, the Miami Heat or the Phoenix Suns. Oh my God, you could have said any other team. If you said the Warriors, I don't think people would be like, oh, that's not too crazy. Like, just go back.
It's like it's like the Warriors. They're getting older, but they're also getting younger. It's a new era for them. Fuck it, why not KD go back?
Yeah, why not? Like, I think he should go back to OKC. I think that would be a fun story, but he won't.
That would be awesome.
They're so bad, but I don't know what he'll do. It'll be fun. Just whatever it is. All right, Harrison, you're.
15 teams have already reached out, so like.
Yeah, I know who hasn't reached out. The Indiana Pacers, I can guarantee, have not reached out. So we have Benedict Mathurin. We have
Kevin
the best
Durant.
player on the planet.
Nah.
No, we have the best player on the planet, Benedict Mathurin. So we don't need Kevin Durant. He's him, the one of ones. Harrison, your bronze medal.
My bronze medal goes to good guy James Harden. Taking a $30 million pay cut in order for your team to go out there and get more players. That's pretty huge and not something you would have expected James Harden to do like 5 years ago, even 2 years ago. Hell, a month ago, you wouldn't have expected James Harden to go out and do that. So, good guy James Harden going out, making I think he's really hungry for that ring at this point.
Oh, he's being sick of being called a fat fuck.
Yeah, that too. But
fat fucks, real quick. Brian Windhorst says the Lakers have a potential package for Durant and Kyrie. Fucking who? Who the fuck are they going to offer?
And Kyrie?
What? What is he
talking? One.
All right, he says some stupid shit, but this has got to be the dumbest shit I've ever read in my life.
That would have to be LeBron. Fucking.
Hold on, let's listen. It's 56 seconds. I'm sorry to everyone at home. You have to listen to this dude speak, but like, I want to hear how in the world they can't even get anyone. All of a sudden, they're gonna get both.
To me by executives that I'm sorry, I'm slow to say it. I can't. Don't do it. That if they would be kept together, that the Lakers would potentially have a package that you could trade for both of them. Let's go, Richard. But we don't know. It's too fragile. It's too fragile because we just don't know where KD and Kyrie are.
Richard Jefferson.
They're still interested in together.
I want to. So that's so for those who can't see. Richard Jefferson's losing his shit because he thinks this is so funny.
It's like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
After seeing what happened when they were together, almost no team with options would do it. But the Lakers don't have options. So that's the only place I heard it was possible. But we don't have enough. We don't really have enough information to know.
Oh, can we do
I will retire.
Okay.
From this show.
Please.
If
Richard Jefferson was having none of that. Bro, no, fuck it. Fuck you, Kyrie. Brian Windhorst, you get fuck my gold medal. Brian Windhorst, you get a gold medal for that bullshit you just spewed out of your mouth. That is a special kind of medal. Just absolutely blissfully, like, that's just so ignorant so arrogant, just so pro LeBron propaganda. That's some of the dumbest shit. Like, you know the fucking the Happy Gilmore thing, or no, Billy Madison, where he's like, I just got stupider listening to that. I got stupider because you know what he said at the very end? I don't have enough information to tell you what it is. Because there is no fucking package. There is no fucking package.
Oh my god. First, don't like a whole major thing about sports reporting is you don't say shit without information. You need to be 100% certain. Just don't be spitting the dumbest stuff out there. Oh my god.
Brian Windhorst is such a LeBron cocksucker. He's such a dick writer. So I was gonna say the Rockets get my silver, but since Brian Windhorst has kind of skyrocketed up my board over the past literally 60 seconds, I'm gonna switch my silver medal to corporate media social accounts. Nutter Butter, they had to issue an apology. I'll read Radio Shack's real quick. Radio Shack was, if she ain't a squirter, if you find a squirter, marry her. And then Nutter Butter said, N is for the way you nut at me. Wait, what are you guys freaking out about? I was just singing. And then they released a Nuts app apology. So social media accounts for like these teams these like organizations are kind of just like losing their shit.
Wait, did you see the Radio Shack apology though?
I did not.
The Radio Shack apology.
Is it
Shack intern here?
Is it also the nut?
No, it's about the squirter.
No, I said, is it also like the Nuts app?
No,
it's like
it was
like
just a tweet.
Nuts, like you build shit with.
Yeah, no, haha. No, it's just a tweet. Shaq intern here. I wanted to take a sec to reflect on my post. IK, you're expecting me to say, in my wildest dreams, I never thought that tweet would go viral and to apologize. But I did because I know that shit was fire as fuck. No, we didn't get hacked, and no, I'm not fired. Buckle up, bitch.
Oh, lordy. All right.
And this morning, they tweeted, all black Air Force Ones laced up and ready to go. If you know, you know. Morning, people.
Oh, my God. All right, Harrison, your silver medal.
My silver medal goes to the Big Ten because if you haven't seen it, it's proof now that the Midwest is way better than California because USC and UCLA seem to both be joining the Big Ten, unless that's some fake news that USC and UCLA are putting out there to, I don't know, test the waters. There's no real, like, it's out there, but it's not out there. And if this happens, that'd be nuts. Like, I mean, it's the Big Ten. There should only be 10 teams, in my opinion. Who do you kick out to make room?
I'm old school. I think they should just keep it with the Power 5, but I know we're going into the two mega conferences of like two, like 24 each.
Yep.
But I want to go back to Brian Windhorst real quick. The Lakers didn't even have a package for Malcolm Brogdon. What the fuck makes you think they're going to get both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving? They couldn't get fucking Malcolm Brogdon. The Pacers are trying to sell him for fucking shit stains, and they can't. And they're going to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I'm
absolutely the greatest minds.
You watch the video. Just look at Brian Windhorst. Watch the video. Even he's just like trying to say, like, guys, don't make fun of me. I'm gonna say something LeBron told me to say. Don't make fun of me. And oh my god. Anyway, sorry. I'm.
No, it was an astonishingly stupid take, and like
floated to him by executives, probably just fucking the Lakers. Be like, hey, just say this. See if people believe you. See what we have to do.
Maybe it was like. Maybe LeBron bet like AD $5.
Well, actually,
get, like Windhorst to say some stupid shit on TV.
I take it back. I take this all back. What if they're trying to unload Anthony Davis?
Ooh,
which is a very good idea. You could just do Anthony Davis,
AD and Russ,
and you get rid of Russ, AD, Russ.
Okay, this actually might work. Actually,
I figured it out. I have broken the code. Windhorst is still a fat fuck, but the fact that you don't have the balls to come out and say what it really was, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been on the team. The Anthony Davis was never going to work. They just kind of get the Mickey Mouse title where they had like a whole year off. so Anthony Davis could recover from all of his injuries. But all right, we're this thing's gone off the rails. Harrison, you have a gold medal that we haven't touched on?
I mean, we kind of already touched on it, but it's Nets haters. Like, our time is now. This is funny as hell. But yeah,
this is
this went completely off the rails.
Oh no. Kevin Durant yelling. Oh, the Suns just gave Devin Booker an extension. So Kevin Durant announced he wanted out. And then 10 minutes later, oh, that's interesting. 10 minutes later, Klay Thompson had an Instagram story of him, Steph, and Dre with 4 rings. This league, man.
Greatest league in the world. There's nothing like it.
Oh, I love this shit. Ooh, DeAndre Jordan, dude. This is let's get
To the
spicy
Nuggets.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, he's on the
Things
Nuggets.
are picking up.
Malik Monk going to the Kings. Jokic agreed to his 5-year extension. Oh, okay. Everything's
Isaiah Hartenstein.
Oladipo. Oh, to
returning to the Heat for 1 year.
Ooh. I guess they're not getting KD. All right. Well, all the news is breaking in.
Sign and trade. Everything started. And apparently the Sixers are interested in Andre Drummond. Again.
Okay.
Again.
All right. Yeah, so that's what we got for the show. Kind of all over the place, man. We're a lot of news. A lot of shit today. A lot of shit today. I hope you enjoyed my live reaction to Brian Windhorse's fat ass. I'm just gonna keep calling him a fat ass because half the shit he says is just fucking bullshit.
Bradley Beal, 5-year, $251 max contract to stay with Washington.
Oh, that was expected.
I mean, yeah. But Woj just broke it.
Hold the man is trading like in a year. All right, that's what we got. Next week, we got Trayshawn Gore, Ricky Simone, and we'll have some fun with it. So we will see you guys on Tuesday. Have a good weekend. Have a good 4th of July. We'll be on the same schedule. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around with me all the way to the end. I just want to once again thank the sponsor of the show, Living.Fit. If you're looking to better yourself, make sure you download the app or visit the website Living.Fit today.